the Monday Night Football game, Chargers at Raiders. Big stakes on the show. We have a Geno Smith defender. I almost called him Geno Herbert. Geno Smith defender over here in JP.
They just merge
And
into
two,
one.
we have a Chargers fan here in Sanders, and then I also lean the way of Justin Herbert. And it wasn't a pretty game from Geno Smith at all, and Herbert played pretty well. Chargers win 20-9 on the road. They're now 2-0 and first in the AFC West in the early going of this season. Thoughts from this game, guys?
It was the worst game of Geno's career. It's only the second time he's had a passer rating of 65 or below since he got his second stint starting. So in the last 4 years, he had a passer rating of 37 last night, which I don't remember the number exactly off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure if you just spiked the ball every single play,
It's like
you'd
39?
have a passer rating of 39, if I'm not mistaken.
Somewhere in there.
It's in the 30s.
So the worst game of his career. He's the only quarterback since 2016 to not complete a single pass over 10 yards down the field with at least 10 attempts of that kind in the game. Of course, he threw his 3 picks on the 10 on those 3 of those 10 attempts. He was 24 for 31 for 180 yards, under 10 yards down the field. And, of course, his stats on the game were 24 for 43, 180 yards. So he was good in the
underneath.
In the underneath game. And then, obviously, he was terrible. All 3 of his picks were in a clean pocket. None of them would have been considered quarterback pressures. So really just kind of like him forcing the ball. I think the biggest takeaway for me was 1, Brock Bowers needs to be healthier.
Sure.
But 2, this team needs to trade for a receiver because they have no reason to not try to contend. Pete Carroll, 74, he's coaching for 2 more years maybe?
Yeah.
Unless you're thinking of upgrading Chip Kelly from offensive coordinator to head coach pretty soon. Geno Smith with his contract and his age, I don't think he wants to lose.
No.
Obviously, why would he want to lose? But at his age too, he's not like he's in for a rebuild, I should say. So this is a team that needs to trade for a receiver, and they need to specifically trade for a guy who can catch a one-on-one 50-50 ball.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Romeo Doubs from the Packers is a name that comes to mind. Maybe you trade for Jawan Jennings, considering the contract dispute that he had with the Niners, although he ends up re-signing a contract. Someone in that kind of market, because Jacoby Myers is very, very productive still, but he's a slot guy. Brock Bowers is not your typical – he's not Tyler Warren. He's not going to go win a bunch of 50-50 balls. And Tyquan Thornton is a speed threat. Trey Tucker is another slot guy. So, unless Jack Beck, who only ran 4 routes last night, all of a sudden just kind of elevates himself, this team needs a receiver. And I think that was kind of my biggest takeaway for the Raiders last night in Geno. I don't expect Geno to play this bad again this season. Like I said, it's the second time he's having a rating of 65 below, and it was a 37 in all of those starts in the past 4 years. He's had a pass rating over 121 out of 50 times. So he will be productive at some point. And I also think, at least at this point, the Chargers defense might be the best defense in football. And that offensive line was, again, not good. Geno is, I think, he's third. And in terms of how many times he's been pressured as a quarterback through 2 weeks, so that does not help them at all. And then with the inability to run the football, they only ran the ball 13 times last night. I think the takeaway just has to be that maybe not necessarily that it was a fluke. We've got improvements to make, but that was just a bad overall game. We don't expect it to happen that bad again.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would push back on. I think that you say the Raiders have no reason to not try to compete. I think I feel like they have some questions on defense outside of Max Crosby. And you might think that if you bring in that weapon, then offensively you can have enough firepower to overcome some of your shortcomings on defense, which is totally fair. but I don't think that you can be like, oh, well, this team, all they're missing is like a
they
big
held
one.
the Chargers to 20 points, and we think highly of the Chargers' offense right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I think
They also held New England to 13 last week.
Yeah, I think part of with the Chargers offense, they got a little conservative because the Raiders just were not doing anything, and so the Chargers not necessarily stopped trying, but they weren't trying to like go for like a kill shot or anything. So I think that's part of what we saw from the Chargers because the first half they were kind of unstoppable. I think Herbert had like 150, 175 yards in the first half through the air and on the ground, so he looked fantastic. And then defensively, as a new Chargers fan, I'm not trying to be overly optimistic about that defense because I think they've gone against the Chiefs offense who were missing Rashee Rice and then lose Xavier Worthy in the third snap,
Third
snap of the game. And so that kind of makes that game mean less to me. And in this game, I was low on the Raiders' weapons all off season.
Well, yeah, the Chargers just beat a 2-15 team, in your opinion.
Yeah, so like I can't agree with you that the Chargers have the best defense in the league right now because I was low on the Chiefs and the Raiders, and so I can't then turn around and be like, we beat the Chiefs and the Raiders, we have the best defense. Like that would be, I don't know what the word, it would be wrong of me. So I can't agree with that right now. I would love for that to be the case, but I said all off season and then going into this game that I was not a huge fan of the Raiders' weapons outside of Genty and Bowers. And Genty, I think, averaged for what do you have on the night? Rushing 3.9 yards per carry, 11 for 43. His issue now through 2 weeks, I don't have the PFF stuff up right now, so I can't see it. But watching the game, the number of times he was getting hit in the backfield is insane. It's criminal.
He's still averaging getting hit in the back, like negative yards before contact.
Yeah, and that is just a really, for someone who loved Ashton Genty, I mean, I don't know who didn't love Ashton Genty coming out of college. Just an awesome guy. But it was really sad, or it's sad to kind of see how poorly it's going so far. He's averaging 3.6 yards after contact, 3.9 yards per carry. So his yards after contact and his yards per carry are almost the same. But yeah, it was another rough night for that offensive line. So that's affecting Geno Smith and Ashton Genty. What I will say about Geno Smith and those, I feel like the majority of interceptions were, like you said, none of them were like under pressure. They were all forces, either into double coverage or triple coverage, or there was the one where he threw it and the defender jumped it, and it wasn't double coverage, but it was tipped, and then another guy caught it. So that the secondary for the Chargers did impress me. They were always in the right place, but how much of that was them being in the right place and how much of it was Geno just didn't have time to let any of his wide receivers get open. So there is some like not pushback because like I want it to be true and I do agree that like they looked really good, but I don't know if they're the best like we just haven't seen enough in my opinion.
I mean, I think it's for me it's between them or the Packers at this point.
That's the other team I was going to throw out.
I agree there's like we'll see more, and the Packers have played better teams than the Chargers have. Through 2 games, the Chargers' defense is forcing an average depth of target of 3.2 yards.
That's crazy.
Easily the lowest margin in the NFL. That right there is wildly impressive. I know we don't love the Raiders wide receiver room. But man, 8 pass breakups, the 3 picks. They were just more physical than the Raiders wide receivers.
Yeah, their secondary's been insane.
Out-physicaled them. They just played so aggressive. They weren't too worried about the top getting taken. They just were just driving and charging down on anything underneath and making play after play. I loved it. It was so fun to watch. It was perfect. I came away so impressed with that defense.
And they did it without Khalil Mack for, I think, over a half.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been on Twitter. I need to check Twitter and see if we have any updates on that. Initially watching it, and this is just like I thought it was wrist initially because he came up and was like holding his wrist. Turns out it was elbow, I believe, and so he was just like supporting his arm.
Yeah,
got his arm.
Elbow hyperextension.
Hyperextended,
yeah,
yes.
Got like went in like punch a ball out, and then got his arm caught, and then someone came in from behind and hit him in the back of the elbow. So hyperextension. Hopefully nothing like torn. It'll just be something that takes like I don't know what the typical time frame for that is, but hopefully nothing major. Couple weeks. I don't know.
There's no way really to know.
I'm just guessing.
No way to
I
really
hope
know.
it's soon. That
Sure.
was really like that terrified me seeing him go down, especially not having like a Joey Bosa prime Joey Bosa on the other side to kind of fill that void. But Chargers defense looked fantastic, even with the loss of Khalil Mack pretty early in that game.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
I was going to say their secondary's been incredible. Tariq Still, who they were high on in the preseason, has been terrific. Tony Jefferson, the old guy, has been great as well. He had a pick, one of the picks last night. And then Cam Hart was good. And, of course, Derwin James. Derwin James actually played bad last night. He missed 5 tackles last night.
Man, Derwin, come on, bro.
All of last season, he only missed 6. So,
Wow.
Really uncharacteristic for Derwin James. But go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna answer. I was gonna transition to the Chargers offense, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna answer Harris's question first.
Oh.
I think it's more on Geno, at least for the picks, because we talked about how he wasn't pressured on any of the picks. Now, there you could say, well, he was consistently getting pressured, so maybe he expected to get pressured. But the picks were at least largely on him.
Yeah.
And to his,
I mean, we can go through them. The first pick was the first play of the game. It's just a straight up miss.
yeah,
The pick where Derwin James gets it late in the game was a force. Like, Derwin James is just sitting there, essentially playing Mike in the center of the field. And they play cover 3, and Derwin drops back, and he takes the one-on-one matchup of Jacoby Myers and Derwin James.
yeah.
I don't think you're going to win that very often ever. So that was kind of his mistake. And then the other pick, I don't remember off the top of my head. That was the one that just deflected, right?
Well,
No, that was Derwin James.
That was the third was basically the arm punt towards the end of the first
That's right.
half, where Tony Jefferson caught it, and that one was a force, but I think part of it was the situation of the game, it being third down, and that's the thing with Geno is he's not gonna just play it safe all game. At some point he's gonna let it rip, whether it's really there or not. And so you're going to get chances to pick off a couple passes, and the Chargers capitalized every time he threw, or almost every time he threw a dangerous ball. They caught it. They didn't drop a pick that hit him in the hands or anything like that.
Yeah.
Now transitioning to the Chargers offense, what did we see that we liked? What did we see that we disliked? The run game really wasn't there again.
Not at all.
But the passing game was good. Sanders, I'll kick it to you first as the Chargers fan. Like,
I love seeing Quentin Johnston have another good game because, and I don't think we've talked about this too much. We talked about it last night, just goofing around. But yeah, I had a lot of concerns about the Chargers' weapons, offensive receivers coming in to this season. Ladd McConkey had a good rookie year, and then you bring in Keenan Allen, who wasn't great last year, and he's older, 32, 33, maybe the oldest receiver in the NFL. I saw a TikTok about that, but he's up there. And then Quentin Johnston, who has not been able to catch balls since entering the NFL. This is year 3, I think.
Year 2.
This is only year 2 for him?
Mm-hmm.
it's got to be year 3, right?
It's got to be because he got drafted after
You're
the
right, it's
TCU.
year 3.
Yeah, year 3 for Johnston. So I was nervous about the weapons, and that now they've looked good through 2 weeks, which is twice as much as 1 week. So that's 100% more data, which I love to see. But Johnston was great. 3 receptions, 71 yards. He had that long touchdown, 60 yards. He was open on a couple others. I'm going to be honest. There were several other open options that Herbert missed throughout the game, which brings me back to I feel like they weren't locked in. Like, I feel like they could have had an even better game than they did, scoring only 20 points, which is a little concerning. I don't like taking check downs when you've got a guy open over the top through the middle. But Keenan Allen, another good night, 5 receptions, 61 yards, another touchdown. But yeah, the run game was lacking. Herbert he led the team in rushing, 9 rushes, 31 yards, averaged 3.4 yards per carry. Omarion Hampton had 8 rushes, averaged 3 yards per carry. And then Najee Harris was our most efficient runner, 8 rushes, 28 yards, 3.5 yards per carry.
Justin Herbert has led the team in rushing yards both games.
Yeah.
The only other team where a quarterback has led the team in rushing yards both games is
The Commanders?
the Kansas City Chiefs right now. And so that
not where you wanna be.
has to be a concern.
Yeah,
If we
100%.
talked about with Kansas City, that offensively there's deep concerns there. I will say they are throwing the ball a ton. They threw it 66% of the time week 1, and then I think it was 56% of the time last night. So they're throwing it a lot more than they
which I think now we know why.
were expected to, and I think yes, that's a fair statement of that. That's kind of what they're being forced into doing. But I think for me, offensively they've looked really good. But how confident are you that Quentin Johnston's 2 games here are the new Quentin Johnston, the one we saw at TCU, or do you think it's more likely he returns to what he was in the prior 2 years? How confident are you that Keenan Allen plays every single game this year?
Not.
Not at all. Lad McConkey, we expect to still be good. They have essentially no option at tight end, like Will Dissly and Tyler Conklin are 2 tight ends. I think they have 2 catches through 2 games. Omarion Hampton out of the backfield hasn't been the passing threat that we expected.
Neither rookie has popped off in terms of Keandre Lambert-Smith or Trey Harris.
Correct. And offensive line is already kind of banged up, and who's to say it couldn't get worse? So I think there has to just be a little bit of pumping the brakes, because I don't know if you can guarantee that this is something that is going to play out throughout the entire year. In fact, I don't think it will. And I also think Herbert is putting himself in danger
I agree.
by running as much as he is, as much as I said it about Mahomes earlier. There were multiple plays last night, specifically 2 come to mind. There's the one where it was the late, dirty hit, which is partially on Justin Herbert for not getting down. I don't think he really should be on the defensive player at all. What's he supposed to do? If you watch that full speed, like there's really nothing he can do. But still, that's Herbert putting himself in a spot where he takes a hit to the head. Concussions hurt quarterbacks a ton. Think of Tua. And then late in the game, just before the 2-minute warning, they run a naked bootleg to Justin Herbert, and he rolls out and he runs and he slides, and he takes a really weird slide.
Terrible slide from the boy.
Tears his leg sleeve off, essentially, on his knee. And then also, they don't really show it well on camera, but he gets up and he's wincing and he's holding his back. And so are we sure Justin Herbert can stay healthy? I think those are the concerns with how good they've looked offensively. Health is a huge concern, and then the Justin Herbert concern. I think he's got to pump the brakes just for a second on the Chargers. As good as they've looked offensively and defensively through 2 games.
So you're thinking Broncos win the AFC? I'm just messing there. I 100% agree.
I can ask that question right now. Like, would you pick the Chargers to win the AFC West right now?
Right now,
They are the favorite at -110. The Chiefs are +290.
I would not
The
bet on them.
Broncos are +330.
I would bet on the Chiefs. I would not bet on the Chargers.
Who
to
would
win.
you pick right now to win the AFC West?
Chargers. But I'd bet on the Chiefs.
I'd pick the Chargers. I don't love it, but I haven't loved what I've seen from the other teams in this division.
If I can get the Chiefs at plus money, I'm taking the Chiefs.
Because I also want to point out, I agree the skill positions aren't deep, and the running game has been poor. I actually think Najee Harris looked better than Omarion Hampton.
I agree.
Which is not at all what you want to see if you're a Chargers fan, just considering the hype around Hampton.
Yeah.
Harris talking about the 4th and 1 play call. I do want to touch on that because I thought that was about – I hated that play call, and I hated the Justin Herbert, roll out that he ends up taking the bad slide on. 'Cause I think it's unnecessary at that point in the game. And then you have the Hampton fumble that actually gave to Justin Herbert. But
really?
They did give it to Justin Herbert. I don't love the play calling down the stretch, but the one thing I want to touch on.
They also gave the fumble on the Trey Harris handoff to Herbert as well.
Oh.
So he had 2 fumbles.
That's crazy.
Sick. The pass blocking has been fantastic for the Chargers, and that's really, I think, why they've been so good in the passing game is because Herbert just sits back there and can stand and deliver, which is fantastic because we didn't know how to look with Rashawn Slater out. But that's something I've loved, and that is something I think they can keep up barring injury. But, I mean, every team, it's like barring injury, what do you see? But I've just loved the pass blocking.
Yeah, speaking of that, on play action last night, Herbert was 7 for 10 for 135 yards and threw both of his touchdowns. So pass blocking has been terrific, even in play action, where you're typically not going to have as good of pass blocking.
Yeah.
That has been a great sight to see. The clean pockets that Herbert's had. which is why I have more of a problem with what he's doing, putting himself in danger running, because your pocket has been so clean. Just give it to your backs or your receivers. But their pass blocking has been great. As you said, they're 2 weeks so far.
Yeah. And on the Najee thing, I agree that like it is a little frustrating because like you invested a first round pick in Hampton, but now the season started. That first round pick is a sunk cost. Now I'm just like, okay, Najee looks good. I'm not gonna be mad about having running back. Like it sucks that he looks better than your first round pick, but he looks good. So like that's good. That's a good thing. And I'm also not too terribly surprised given that Najee was talented coming out of college and then just played for the Steelers for 4 years. So I was always like I thought he had more talent than he was able to display there. Even I think he was a 1,000-yard rusher several years, if not all 4 years. So
all 4 years.
Yeah, he was able to put up numbers there, but
Sure.
he was drafted to fix the Steelers' run game when the Steelers had like problems rooted in the O-line. That was the issues with their run game. And so now you put him at Los Angeles. The run game hasn't been great, but he's probably been the best part about it other than Herbert. So I would love to lean on him more and then get Hampton fixed. I don't know what the issue with Hampton is right now. He had a couple big plays. He had a 15-yard rush, which was longer than Najee's long of 7 yards, but just didn't have like enough on his shorter stuff.
Sure. I mean, he's just not as good between the tackles right now as Najee is. And, I mean, the 15-yard rush came on, he got on the outside, and he did great to stay up on, the ankle tackle.
Yeah.
But that's very fair.